Hello and welcome to Happy Friday, where this week I'm going to be talking about Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference that happened in California earlier this week. So the main things I'm going to be talking about are the latest version of iOS that's going to be coming out, Apple Watch, and the Mac operating system update as well. So the main announcement that affects most people is the new version of iOS, which is iOS 12 that's going to be coming out later this year. This new update comes with new features such as group FaceTime, improvements to Siri, and improvements to Animoji. Another thing that they announced is a new improved version of their augmented reality engine that sort of sits in the phone itself. That'll allow you to do better object detection and put in virtual things in the real world. You may remember that last year Apple introduced something called Bitmojis with little animated characters. Now they're doing Animojis, which you can create a virtual version of yourself and it works in the same way as the Bitmojis did. How useful that is, I'm not sure. Something probably of a lot more use is group FaceTime. One of the big limitations with FaceTime compared to, say, Skype was that you could only FaceTime with one person. Now you can have up to 32 people, so you can do a virtual family gathering, speak with friends, all those kind of good things. So in my opinion, that's a really good thing. Apple also talked about the Apple Watch. So there's a new version of the operating system, so Apple Watch OS 5. One of the things you're going to be able to do with that is there's different workout types, so things like yoga, that kind of thing. But one of the coolest things is you're going to be able to use your Apple Watch as a walkie-talkie. So it's childhood dream stuff. Something else in iOS 12 that I think is super useful, and I've written blogs all about this kind of stuff before, is tracking your usage on apps and also limiting your access on apps. So you may want to limit your children's access to things like YouTube, or you may want to limit your own access to things like Facebook that do end up being a time suck if you're not careful. In the Mac world, so using Mac computers, then there's a new version of the operating system there called Mojave. This has an interesting thing called dark mode, where at night it's apparently better for you, so the native apps on Mac OS will be dark, a bit like your sat-nav when it detects that it's night time and makes the screen dark and easier to read. More interestingly from my perspective is that they're hinting now that iOS apps are going to be able to run on Mac OS. They've done that with some of their native apps, and like I say, they're hinting that it's going to be easier for developers to port iPhone and iPad apps into Mac OS. That's really similar to like a Google Chromebook, where more modern versions of the Chromebook can run Android apps natively on that operating system. So that's it for Happy Friday this week. If you want to know more about any of those features, or you want to tell us about a feature that you think is really interesting, then just let us know in the comments. So thanks very much and see you next week.